Gundam.tk presents Master Grade Duel Gundam Assault Shroud. Hey, what's up again, everybody? It's Robert184, 2Rs, 2Bs from GundamReviews.net. And as you can see from the empty plates, it's time to take a look at the completed parts for the Duel Gundam Assault Shroud in Master Grade 1/100th for the first time. Now, upon first inspection, you might be a little bit inclined to think that this is going to be a pretty dull Gundam considering its similarities to the Strike. The weapons and backpack probably aren't going to change that impression very much. But it's once you see all of the parts for the Assault Shroud here and you put these all together that you can see that this is going to be certainly anything but a run-of-the-mill Strike clone. Extras include 3 extra sets of manipulators there. You've got your the weapon holding ones, you've got your closed fist and the trigger fingers. To go along with the action-based connector, the always Mr. Sunshine Izak Jewel and the 2 beam sabers. For the legs, you can see the 2 colors of gray that are going to be throughout this body to go along with the blue trim. Up here, you're going to have this hip joint, which is going to rotate around and bend up and down, and it's sort of cool that it's actually covered in the front by this gray little detail here. For the all-important knee bend, you can see that you're going to get this bend here, and then when you bring this down, if you notice that part's going to slide up, and you're actually going to get some pretty cool-looking knee coverage there. If you look at it from the front, you've seen a lot of times where this part is going to be awkwardly placed, but I'd say that this is one of the better Master Grade knees that I've ever seen put together. You can see the similarities to the Strike on the inner outer frame, if you want to call it that. These parts are not like the Unicorn, they're not going to pop out, but you can see up here that you're going to be able to move the ankle up there on the inside, and then you're going to have it on a ball joint down below, which is going to allow it to rotate. But you also have the front and back part here, or sorry, just the front part, which is going to bend this way, and yet feel pretty natural when it's locked into its flat position. For the waist, I just wanted to show you that you're going to have this ability here to slide this part down, so you can have it in the upper position or the lower position. There it is down there. You'll see that this will pop down, and you can do that independently, so you can have the left leg move while the right one doesn't. But outside of that, I wouldn't say there's anything too exciting about the waist skirt here. You can see all these gray parts all around, a little bit of dark gray, but outside of that, this is probably the dullest part of the whole kit. The skirts are going to move off to the side. The part I always forget, but the Master Grade Age 1 has made me notice again the cockpits and their design, especially on Master Grades. You can see a little tiny Izak in there, and that's going to be accomplished by sliding this in and out and then closing this part up. You'll notice that that's on a pretty cool slide mechanism. The rest overall in terms of colors, again, you're just going to have the 3 main colors with that little bit of gold orange in there. You can see that this gray part down here is going to move a lot off to the side. You wonder if that's going to cause any problems. Hopefully not, since it's not like the 00 Quanta or something like that. The backpack attachment is on there. You've got the shoulders that are going to allow a good range of motion up this way and forward. You can see that you're getting almost 90 degrees forward, which is going to allow for a lot of cool looking poses. You can see that the neck is going to look pretty solid there, and throughout this part, the whole body, you're going to notice that there's these little attachment points for when the Assault Shroud goes on. Familiar looking shoulders as well, and you can close up this gray part here, and you can also pivot this blue part that's just on a polycap there if you can make that out. You're going to have the shoulders moving here, but overall the shoulders are one of the more interesting parts when you put this all together, which sort of makes up for the otherwise dull arms. You can see that the shoulder is going to go up and down there, and it's going to rotate around. In terms of the bend here, you can see that you're going to get the lower arm to bend up 90, and you're going to get that elbow bend up there, but what this part isn't going to move at all. That's very Strike-ish. You can see though that there are a few looking cool mechanisms there, but overall it's going to have a pretty skinny elbow if you were to check it from the back. You can see a little bit of inner frame there. You're going to have, like I said, this familiar Strike part, and the wrists are just going to attach in on ball joints there. They can pop out a little bit if you want to have them move more. And here you're going to have the thumb moving. It doesn't have any articulation outside of that point that attaches on, and the 4 solid fingers. Remember that you're getting 4 types overall. But whereas the rest of the body can look a little bit dull in comparison, I'd say that the backpack is certainly one of the highlights, thanks in no small part to this predominance of the orange all over the place there. You get to see all the colors there. You can see that the thrusters on the bottom are going to move independently as up here, so you can move these parts, which are going to look pretty cool. You also have these parts, which are going to rotate around. Hopefully you don't break off your beam sabers HGUC Unicorn Gundam style, and a pretty solid looking attachment point there. The weapons are going to look a little bit unique because they've got these cool looking parts here in the back, and that's accentuated by the fact that you've got this missile or rocket up here in the front, and you can take that and you can see that it's going to plug in at 2 points and actually fit on there fairly securely. You've got a pretty skinny barrel here, but the little plus that you can open up this front part to reveal the green seal on the inside there for the scope. For whatever reason, the colors of the shield really do it for me though, compared to the dullness of the gray body overall. You can put some lining in for these parts, and you've got nice solid orange all around to go along with that very bright blue. The gray sort of gets forgotten there. Inside, you're going to be able to rotate this part around, and you've got this point as well. You can see that this is going to bend when you put it into the elbow point. You can take this part as well and plug it in this way, this way, this way, and this way as well, and you also have this dark gray part up at the top. The head of the Duel Gundam is going to be pretty cool though, just because we get to see a lot of colors in a small amount of area. First of all, you're going to have the blue predominantly up there on the front and down there for the chin. I wonder if they had that for the 1/100th. You'd think so. But then it's going to have the orange part here for the jewel to go along with the gray V-fin. You're also going to see different parts here when you're applying these on, so if you wanted to add a little bit of color differentiation, real grade style, that would be something that would be pretty easy to do. You've got a green camera lens there on the back, and the green eyes and camera lens on the front are looking pretty sharp. I'm not sure if I should have used the black lining there. That's something that you can choose, whether you want to go with gray, black, or actual proper ink. But on to the Assault Shroud, where you're going to be getting a lot more of this cool blue, which is quite a bit different from the gray and the dark blue that you'll see around the rest of the body. And again, accentuated all over the place with dark gray and orange, which is looking fantastic. These are the lower parts. You're going to put these onto the legs, and you can see that this part here seems a little bit awkward. I wonder how it's going to work in practice. This part here is just going to snap in, and you've got all those little gray thrusters down there again with that gray, dark gray on the orange thrusters with gray on the inside, sorry. Looking fantastic, but look at this. You've even got these thrusters on the back, which are going to be movable when they're attached onto the legs. I said the waist section was one of the dullest features of this, and when you put on the dark gray and these parts, it's nice that you've actually got gray inner frame there with a little bit of purple showing through. With an already cool looking backpack, when you add on these extra thrusters, I think it's certainly going to look good visually. You've got the orange thrusters inside the dark gray there, some cool looking rib parts there, and you've got this part which is going to move up and down, and on the top you can plug this part above the backpack, and I'm a big fan of the way this looks again with these nice three colors all over the place. The forearm covers are going to look a little bit dull compared to the rest of the armor when you put it on, but that's helped by the fact that down below for the cuffs, you've actually got a big part of dark gray here to go along with some blue, which you're only going to see at some angles, but I think that's a really nice touch to go along with that gray, or the orange, sorry, there on the inside. It's the shoulders, though, that really help bring this guy to life. You can see that you've got these nice big orange panels here, front and back. You actually just sort of separate these when you're putting them on, two pegs to hold it all together. You've got this big bulky part in the front with some good lining opportunities, and if you want to open this up, there's a little green seal there as well. Heavy arm style, you're going to have the separated missiles there to go along with the dark gray on the inside, so big props to the way that they're doing this, because you know that old school that this would have all been one color unless you painted it up properly. The other shoulder is going to seem a little bit dull in comparison. You've just got these two parts here which are going to go into the top part there when you're putting on the weapon, but it's the weapon that's going to capture all the attention here. First of all, in the back, you can see that it's going to pivot off to the side, and that's going to allow this to go around 360. And in terms of range of motion, you can see that it's going to go up this much and down. When you've got this part here, it looks like it sort of balances out there pretty well. You've got a nice looking camera lens there, and overall, I think this is going to add a lot of oomph when you've got the missiles open and this gun over the other arm. And if I wasn't impressed already, this chest part would certainly do it, where you're going to have big chunks of the dark color over here to go along with the orange part, which you'll notice is going to open up, and this whole thing is going to go down. So conceivably the cockpit should work even in its Assault Shroud mode, which is very, very impressive. Almost MG Age 1 cockpit impressive. And finally, if you've got some Astrays kicking around, and one of the gold frame, or the gold frame especially, here you've got a pretty cool looking big weapon there with some cool looking lines down at the back. You've got separation there between these gray parts and the main body as you do down here. And in terms of moving parts, you're just going to have this move forward. It looks like you've got a piston mechanism there, even though nothing's going to move. It's looking good down on the barrel, and just to give you an idea of the size here, here it is next to the regular beam rifle, so you can just see how big that this weapon is going to be, especially when you add it to his hand. And remember that he's going to have another one thanks to the shroud. Which leads me to a pretty favorable impression of the parts. The body, when you put it together, is just going to be solid strike assembly with a very cool inner frame, but everything's just going to be solid, if unspectacular. But it's once you start looking at the details that they've got, including the movable parts all over the Assault Shroud, the fact that you can expose the cockpit and you've got those missiles in multicolors there, everything's looking good, including the extra weapons. So far I'd say that the body was dull, but the Assault Shroud certainly saved it. Anyway, everybody, stay tuned for the next part where I'll actually put the mobile suit together so you can check out the Duel Gundam. And anyway, why don't you let me know what you think with a comment down below. Always love to hear from you. And as always, thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time. Gundam.tk presents First Grade Exia Assault Shroud.